fresh merch alert for the Skyline fans, R34. Check it out in the fullBOOST shop. Look, there are a lot of white Yarises on the road, but this one stands out in particular. What's with the behind Project Yuki? What is all that about?
Well, it's a kind of a midlife crisis. You know, I drove boring cars for 20 years, and when I saw the Rally Edition was coming to Australia, I just had to have one. I could kind of combine my love of cars, my job, and start a YouTube channel like yourself.
So is that what the name of the YouTube channel is?
Project Yuki the Yaris is this car. It's the Japanese word, means snow or happiness. And I think, well, you know, that works. If you've ever seen Project Binky.
Yes.
The internet's longest running.
Yes, never finished, yep.
Four-wheel drive turbo Toyota Mini.
Yep.
Kind of a riff on that. Project Binky, Project Yuki. Although the channel's called mr.motomojo.
Okay. There's a plug, go look at it.
Free plug.
It stands out really well. People would see this coming a mile away with all the decals and wrap, and Andy turned up at our workshop open day and I saw it across the street and there was a bunch of white Yarises, and of course I went straight to this one because the bonnet for me is a standout. This is a carbon bonnet that you said you wrapped. Looks really good. I actually wish the bonnets came out like this factory.
Yeah, it's mad, and also just helps get a bit of heat out of the engine bay. Yeah, the guys at Exotic wrapped the front of it and then they just added this little detail with the sunburst. This was like their 5-minute job wrap. I can't wait till they do the good one.
What, are you going to get some stuff redone?
Yeah, I plan to do like a big Ken Block Gymkhana thing eventually, so we'll do a full wrap for that.
Yeah.
This is like a half wrap just for the rally.
If you're wondering why there's motorsport stickers all over the car, the tow hook, you've done a lot of motorsport in this car and that's what you've set it up primarily, is that right?
Oh, yes. I'm figuring out as I go. I didn't know if it was going to be like a hill climb thing or a track day weapon or... So I did a bit of everything, a bit of that, a bit of track day. I did a tarmac rally, which was amazing. And I think that's what this car's happy place is a tarmac rally. It's like 8/10 race car. It's not a full-on race car. You can still drive it on the road. Tarmac rally, I think, is that sweet spot.
Is this your first go at motorsport? Have you had previous cars that you've been experienced, you've done that before?
I had a Datsun 180B SSS, which unfortunately met its end at the famous mineshaft stage in Canberra. So yeah, that was 20 years ago. But yeah, so I used to do dirt rally.
Oh, so you've had a big gap and now you've come back and you've invested into this thing to go racing, really, yeah.
Correct, yeah. Well, it was more so to do the YouTube thing. I just wanted to, in the early days, it was yourself and Motive Video, and I saw people, what they were doing to these, and there's a guy over in Switzerland, Phil Rotherley. I just wanted to have a go myself, like just get one and start modifying.
Now, if you're not familiar with the Yarises, they were sold in Australia in 2 grades, I guess you could say. I got the early one, also known in the community as the POV spec, because there's no LSDs. So this is called a Rally in Australia. So if you're watching from the UK, this was basically like a circuit pack plus a convenience pack combined. It had everything. So it had the LSDs. In Oz 2, these exclusively only came in the pearl white, whereas unlike the boring fridge white that every other Toyota is. Where did you start with the car when you first bought it?
First thing, oil cooler.
Yep.
Because as soon as the engine was running, like 1100 Ks or something, I went straight to the track at Broadford, and the guys in Europe at the time were hitting 137 degrees oil temperature.
Wow.
So I put the oil cooler, and then everything else bog standard, went to the racetrack, got second out right for the day and ran, I think, mid 106s all day at Broadford.
And what oil temps do you see now at the track?
It might get over 100 if I really thrash it.
Oh, so it doesn't get that high?
No, it's fine, yeah. Maybe 105.
Yeah, that's nothing, yeah. Factory, I've seen about 105 at Sandown in a stock car.
Yeah, it was the oil cooler first. Then I got sick of it sounding like a Tesla, so I put the exhaust and the dual port blow off valve, because I never got to do that as a teenager, so I just needed a car that made obnoxious rally noises.
And I'm just an old fart who's still probably the only one in Melbourne with a standard exhaust, just because I'm like, it's quiet. And I'm not really a big fan of a dirty 3-cylinder.
They've nailed the Akrapovic though. Like, I don't know how they've done it, but if you get on it, like, it makes cool noises. But if you just half throttle or whatever, it's acceptable around town. Like. Once I put those on, it was running really rich, and it obviously needed a tune. So I put a Motec on there because I thought that'll allow me to do more things down the track.
And that at the time too, well, really, even up until very recently, it was really the only way you could tune these.
Correct. Yeah. Oh, there was the D-Tuck. So Neil Bates was running that on his personal car, and he recommended it.
Were they actually tunable? Or was it just like a map that went on?
There's like three maps you could choose, 1, 2 or 3, as far as I know. But yeah, because I thought, you know, who knows how far this is going to go, I went with the Motec. You have to do valve springs before you do anything. We put the Kelford A cam in, like the really mild one. And then just some other things like, you know, the intercooler, air box. I put a little catch can on it.
Do you rev it much more now?
Yeah, it revs higher. They've lifted the limit right up. I think it'll rev to 9.5.
Oh.
I generally don't rev it that high on the track, but my mate did, and he dumped the clutch and did a launch at 9 grand and fried the clutch and the DMF.
Yeah,
thanks, Jord.
That's not how you drive an all-wheel drive car.
No. But that's when we got a hook up from those guys.
So is it dual mass still?
Yeah, so we've put a new dual mass in. I wanted to go single mass, and I tried to get one. We're pushing shit uphill because it was a day or two before an event.
Yeah.
The Uni-Clutch guys, they talked me out of it because they said they've had other customers put a single mass and then go back to a dual mass with their clutch.
Yeah.
They gave us a Uni-Clutch track, so it's a twin plate one in there, but you'll feel it. It's
That'll handle a fair bit of power, obviously.
twice the clamping force.
Yeah.
So yeah, heaps of power. It's got the similar pressure to stop, but better feel, I think.
No, this is like, look at that. That's a 1200 RPM and you can slip it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm really happy with it.
Okay, that wants to come. So that's the slipping end. It was starting to.
Yeah, and it does bite. I think it bites a bit more.
Yes.
Which I think is a good thing.
Are you on a flex setup?
It's got E75 in there at the moment because I got it from United. So, but yeah, E85. It's got flex fuel. Basically, that package is the standard turbo maxed out.
Yes.
So it's about 260 kilowatts.
It's pretty impressive how much they can push a stock turbo, considering factory they make, what are they going to, that's probably 100 kilowatts more.
Yeah.
Factory, yeah.
Yeah. And on 98, I think it's 220 or 230 or something.
These tyres probably aren't the best for this weather either.
No. And it doesn't take long to get to the speed limit, if you're watching, police. Does it feel any different from the passenger seat to your one?
It's different because it's so much louder. You got a lot of snap and crackle at the back, haven't you?
Yeah.
That's what sounds very different. My car's like quiet as. Hear that?
I like it. I think it's just the right amount. It's not like a silly amount of crack and popple, but it's enough to, you know.
The exhaust is a bit tinny, which I don't mind because it's not loud, if that makes sense. Like it's not drony at all.
No, it's fine. It makes a bit of noise if you go wide open throttle, but if you keep it under 4,000 RPM and sort of half throttle, it's fine for around town.
Is that a catback? Do they sell a full system? Like what's at the front here?
I've got the standard turbo, standard downpipe with the cat still in it. Then it's a Krapovich from their back.
Are you done mechanically with it? You're not going to go down the snowball route of putting bigger turbos and making it laggy? But
Andrew Hawkins drove this at Calder and he said this reminded him of when theirs was in that sort of happy zone where it was the most fun to drive. And he said after that, the extra horsepower made it sort of less fun to drive. But if I ever was to look at time attack or something, you know, just in the clubman class, I think you'd have to put the big turbo on because like we were talking about with Supras and things, there's guys that just fly past you down the straight and then they're in my way at turn 1. So I think a bigger turbo maybe is in this car's future. So it obviously does the tacho and everything. That's got my ethanol, oil temperature, throttle position, quarter mile timer. And over here I can turn the boost up. So this is basically a keypad for the Motec. Launch control, and you can set the starting revs. It's got a flame tune, but I turned that off because I've still got a cat. Then I've got a pit lane limiter for when we do the rallies. Sometimes there's like 130k speed limit and a couple of different throttle position maps. Just a cool thing to give you a bit of extra data, seeing as I don't have the Motec dash.
as this car is set up for motorsport as well as street driving, and your background is in, well, you're a camera guy, aren't you? So you're very experienced with that kind of hardware. You've implemented a really cool recording system in the car. Let's take a look at that.
I was looking at the V-Box system and the other ones that tie into the Motec. I run the Racebox Mini and I basically get the data off that and then overlay it over the cameras, because in the edit, you know, I might want to put just the front camera or just this camera, whereas those other systems tie you into that composite image with everything on
everything. You can't remove it, can you? So you get an overlaid, like a layer almost, do you, with the data, and you can turn it on and off.
I just make that like a super that I can put over the top,
yep.
or not. And I can have that composite image, or I can have just the clean feeds or whatever I want. And it's basically 2 global shutter cameras. They've used them in Sebastian Loeb's car. They don't have recorders, they're just cameras.
Yep.
So I've got 2 Blackmagic recorders mounted in the back. They remote into each other with timecode lock and gen lock, and there's just one record button, fires off both of them, and yeah, it's cool.
One thing you've changed, and what's copped a lot of criticism in this car, is the way you sit in this car. If you've never sat in a Yaris, the joke is you're like sitting in the driver's seat of a bus. You're up that high. I got used to it straight away. I don't know why. It's never bothered me that much, but I drive quite close to the steering wheel. Other people can't stand it. Now you've obviously addressed that and put in a nice set of buckets here, and they clearly look lower.
45mm lower.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the other thing is, the passenger seat in a Yaris doesn't go down at all.
No, and it's the passenger seats are, like, I was fine with the driver's seat until I got to a racetrack, and then you realise they look like they hold you in, but they actually don't. But then you sit in the passenger seat and you're like, hang on a minute, what's going on here?
It has no adjustment at all. So these are both the same?
Yeah, they're Recaro Sportster CS or something. I think they're the ones that come in the Porsche GT3.
They look really nice.
They're super comfy, but I got these ones because they're recliners.
Yeah.
So I can still get into the back and...
Whereas the factory one doesn't move. I think only the passenger one moves, and even then it doesn't move well. It doesn't slide properly. The other thing I noticed, I saw the steering wheel earlier and I'm like, what's with all the buttons? How many, motorsport features do you need? And Andy reminded me, no, it's just the factory buttons on the steering wheel, like your volume control, next track, voice control, all the stuff a modern car has, that steering wheel still plugs in and allows you to do all that.
Yeah, but it also allows you to run an aftermarket wheel, like a Sparco wheel.
And your steering wheel's spaced back a bit further than...
Yeah, I put a spacer in. Basically, when I went to that first track day at Broady, I got a bit keen into some of the corners and had to go opposite lock.
Yeah.
And I was bumping all the buttons on the factory wheel, and it was just a bit cumbersome. So with a proper sports wheel, you can steer quicker.
One thing that I think stood out the most when I first saw this car was this wing. Where's it from? What is it? It's
a Rally 2 wing. It's a bit of a custom job, so they remanufacture this part, make these end plates, and then this is actually from a rally team in the UK. Neil Bates Motorsport developed this little package.
I see, yes, yeah.
And basically, well, the secret's out now, but this is the only road car that's got this package.
So this is a genuine rally wing, full carbon.
It is, yep. And I just had to add these little struts to give it some support because it was starting to flex and rub up the top. But the wing weighs nothing. It weighs like, I don't know, 50 grams or something. It's ridiculous. I can tell you, I took it off for the bend, and through sector 2, it was trying to spin out on me the whole time. I put it back on for Phillip Island, and I was back to understeer.
Oh.
So I think, whether it's a placebo or I don't know, I feel like it helps.
Being orientated for circuit, you've obviously done a fair bit of suspension to this. What's under the body?
Yeah, it's got Shockworks.
Yep.
I was umming and ahhing about the KWs, the Erlins, and then I thought, you know what? For the price and to support an Australian company, and also I saw you had them and you seemed pretty happy with them at Phillip Island, so I thought, look, I'll give that a go, and I'm so glad I did because Chris and the guys out there were really helpful, and we talked about spring rates, and I don't know how many laps of the block they did. They really fine-tuned it and got it perfect for the tarmac rally.
So what rates, what springs do you run in them? Do you remember?
I think we've got 12s in the back.
Okay, so it's quite stiff.
Yeah, and that made such a difference on corner exit. It just hooks up and drives out of corners. It's like a different car. Standard, they're sort of playful and have that body roll, so you can throw them around like a rally car.
Oh, factory. They actually have way more body roll than you would imagine a car like this would have. They're actually quite floaty and all over the place.
Yeah, this thing, like if you take this through the Black Spur or somewhere, it just sits flat. It doesn't matter how hard you throw it through a corner, it just stays flat.
And you would obviously have camber arms and other things done?
Camber arms, haven't done sway bars or anything like that. It's just basically just a bit of geo, the Shockworks and the camber arms, just to tuck those rear wheels in. I need to either change the offset or get some spacers or something for the front because it's real touch and go at 3 degrees. It's almost touching the...
Tyres, or what are they, Nankang?
Nankang CRS.
Yep.
Yep, pretty happy with them. Way better than the AR ones, and they're still reasonable bang for buck.
Do you have any more plans with the car, or do you want to just try and enjoy it more at the racetrack, or?
I don't really have a plan. I'm just sort of making it up as I go along. But the recent 2 outings, now that I've got a few mods, to the Bend and Phillip Island, we've got the lap record for a GR Yaris at both those tracks. So now that that's happened, I'm like, well, I guess we better go to Winton, see if we can get a record there. And then in November, we're doing Challenge Bathurst.
Oh, cool, Bathurst.
So, yeah.
That's like a bucket list track. Well, you don't get that many opportunities to race, to run laps around there.
Exactly, and that's I think you have to be invited to apply or whatever. And I was lucky that one of the guys, another Yaris owner, is in a club that has a team going. So he said, yeah, jump on that. And I thought, well, you don't know when those opportunities are going to come. So I wasn't ready to do Bathurst this year, but I thought, hey, it's on the bucket list.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So we're doing it.
What times have you run, for people that are from Victoria or Australia, they may know, what times have you done on these tracks?
I think the band was a 209.5, a mid 209.
Is that the full track?
That's the international, so the 18 corners, 5.5K or something.
It's a very long track, isn't it?
Yeah, not
There's a longer version, isn't there?
Yeah, the GT circuit's 7.7Ks. Yeah, Phillip Island, we did a mid 146, so 146.46. But I was having some understeer issues and fuel surging, so I never actually got a clean lap, but we still managed to put down that time. Yeah, so I think we're hitting 235 around there. To be honest, I don't know that with this gearing that there's much more. I think I'm up around 6,000 or 7,000 RPM or something.
So you haven't taken it to Sandown?
Yeah, Sandown.
You have been there?
I have been to Sandown. I had the Motec there. I can't remember what else. And I think we did a 21. Does that sound right? Minute 21 or something?
Yeah, it's quick.
Yeah. I thought it was bring you Subaru Day when I rocked up to fullBOOST Garage this morning. I was like, oh, I didn't get the memo. I rocked up in a Toyota.
Everyone says that. And none of them have got an EJ turbo on them. fullBOOST Garage is a DIY workshop, meaning you can hire a hoist bay and tools and work on your car at your own pace. So far, we've had a range of people come in doing anything from oil changes, exhaust upgrades, and other repairs to their car. If you need something done to your car and don't have any space or don't have the right tools, get on the website and book in now.
I never get to drive this thing in the wet.
Watch out, construction on road ahead.
Thanks, Toyota. The car does this thing where if you go more than 5Ks over the limit, it says, please obey traffic regulations.
Oh, you need to turn it all off.
And I couldn't figure out how to turn it off. And we did the entire tarmac rally with,
Red light
what do they,
reported ahead.
what do they call it?
With her talking to
What's
you.
her name? Someone
I
gave her
don't
a name, like Annoying Susan or something. Yeah. Anyway, the whole rally, 200 and something Ks competitive, we had her flat out just going, please obey traffic regulation. Please obey traffic. Because, you know, you're using both sides of the road and doing 130 Ks an hour. Alright, here we go. Lap one.
Well, you can smell that ethanol. I was just going to say, it just smells like my garage every time I open the door. Oh, the E85 jungle in there.